You have probably had this moment before. You sit down to work, open your laptop, silence your phone, and promise yourself that this time you will stay focused. And yet, even with notifications turned off, something feels wrong. Your attention feels thin, restless, and slightly unstable, like it could be pulled away at any second. It does not feel like laziness. It does not feel like a lack of discipline. It feels more like your mind is waiting for something that never quite arrives. Many people quietly assume this is just what modern life feels like, that being distracted is now normal, and that being focused is something you have to force. So when focus disappears, the first instinct is often self-blame. Maybe you think you are too dependent on your phone, too scattered or too weak-willed. But what if that explanation is incomplete? What if the problem is not that you check notifications, but that you live in a world where they could appear at any moment? Think about a normal workday. Your phone sits nearby, face down, silent and untouched. Your laptop is open, your document is ready, and nothing is actively interrupting you. On paper, you are in perfect conditions to concentrate, and yet your thoughts keep drifting. You glance at your phone without thinking. You refresh a tab. You switch tasks for no clear reason. It feels confusing because nothing obvious is pulling you away. There is no message, no alert, no sound. The usual explanation is that you are addicted to stimulation, that your brain has been trained to crave constant novelty. Research does suggest that frequent digital interruptions shape attention over time. But that explanation alone misses something important. It assumes distraction only happens when something actually interrupts you, when a sound plays, a banner appears, or a message arrives. In reality, distraction often begins much earlier. It begins with the possibility of interruption. Studies on attention suggest that the brain is constantly scanning the environment for potential changes. This happens automatically, even when you are trying to concentrate. Your mind is wired to monitor for signals that something important might happen. In the modern world, notifications are one of those signals. Even when they are silent, your brain knows they exist. It knows that information, social feedback, or work requests could appear at any moment. That knowledge alone changes how your attention works. Part of your mental energy stays on standby, waiting. It is like trying to read a book while expecting someone to call your name. Even if they never do, part of you is listening. Researchers describe this as a kind of background vigilance, a low-level alertness that never fully turns off. When notifications are possible, your brain stays partially open to interruption. It never fully commits to one task. This does not feel dramatic. It feels subtle and quiet. You are still working, you are still typing, you are still reading, but your focus is fragile. It breaks easily. It rebuilds slowly. In an office, this shows up in small ways. You write 3 sentences, then check your inbox without remembering why. You open a file, then forget what you were looking for. You reread the same paragraph multiple times. At home, it looks similar. You start watching something, then scroll. You start studying, then drift. Your phone does not even have to light up. Just knowing it could is enough. Some studies suggest that simply having a phone nearby can reduce available cognitive resources, not because you are using it, but because you are monitoring it. Your attention is doing 2 things at once. One part is focused on the task. Another part is quietly waiting. This divided state feels normal now. Most people live in it all day. Because it feels normal, it rarely gets questioned. It becomes background noise in your mental life. Over time, this changes how deep focus feels. Long, uninterrupted attention starts to feel unfamiliar. When you try to concentrate deeply, it can feel uncomfortable. Your mind keeps checking for updates that are not there. This discomfort is often misinterpreted. People think it means the task is boring or that they are unmotivated. In reality, it may just mean your brain is unused to being fully offline from potential signals. Another factor is memory. Research suggests that when you expect information to be externally available, you rely less on internal focus. If you know messages and reminders will appear automatically, your brain relaxes its own monitoring systems. This makes attention more dependent on external cues. When those cues are silent, your mind feels uncertain. You are waiting for guidance that never arrives. There is also the social layer. Notifications are not just information, they represent people. They signal approval, requests, emergencies, and belonging. Your brain treats them as socially important, so even when ignored, they carry emotional weight. Part of you stays ready to respond. This readiness is exhausting in small ways. Not enough to notice, but enough to matter. It drains mental energy that would otherwise support sustained thinking. Over hours and days, this creates a constant low-grade fatigue, not physical tiredness, but attentional tiredness. You may feel like you worked all day without doing much, not because you were idle, but because your focus was fragmented. The uncomfortable truth is that modern environments rarely allow full cognitive rest. Even in silence, we are surrounded by potential demands. Our devices make sure of that. So feeling unfocused is not a personal failure. It is a predictable response to constant possibility. This does not mean technology is evil. It does not mean you are powerless. It does not mean everyone should disconnect completely. It simply means attention works differently in a world of perpetual alerts. It also does not mean that ignoring notifications is pointless. It still helps. It still reduces direct interruptions. But it does not remove the underlying mental context. The knowledge that something might happen remains. Understanding this can change how you interpret your own experience. When focus feels difficult, it may not be because you lack willpower. It may be because part of your mind is still standing guard. You are trying to think deeply in a space designed for constant responsiveness. That tension does not disappear just because you are trying harder. It is built into the environment. Once you see this, something shifts. The frustration becomes quieter. The self-blame weakens. You start noticing how often your attention is split without you choosing it. You may begin to recognize that your mind is not broken. It is adapting. It is doing exactly what it evolved to do. Stay alert to important signals. In the past, those signals were sounds, movements, and voices. Now they are digital. Your brain does not care that they come from a screen. It treats them the same way. So when you sit quietly trying to focus and feel restless for no clear reason, that feeling has a source. It is the echo of a system designed for interruption, even when no interruption arrives. Understanding this does not solve the problem. It does not give you a simple fix, but it gives you a more accurate story about what is happening, and sometimes that understanding alone is enough to change how heavy the experience feels. Not because the world becomes quieter, but because you finally know why it never really was.